hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back today on Be Honest with Dr. Yana, and we have our fantastic guest with
We'll
us.
start over. We can start over. Okay.
We're live.
You have
It's
to turn
okay.
it off. I don't know why it's working. So I turned it off on my phone, but it doesn't turn off on the computer. I don't know how to do this.
You have to mute it, I guess, or just say you're busy.
Yeah, just
Do not disturb on the phone.
if I go over here to do not disturb.
Yeah,
See,
or just mute it on the side. Also works.
yeah, it was on the. It was my computer that went off, not my phone.
Oh.
Oh, I don't know what to do about that. Let me just see. I'll just quickly turn it off each time. Maybe that will do it.
All right.
He's going to call right back. That's what people do. So
I don't understand. When you don't pick up the phone, people call right back. Why?
Oh, too hard to explain. It used to filter out all the calls if they weren't on my phone, and then they call back. The phone will accept them. That was a software thing. I don't know how to turn this off. Somebody calls on. Turn off the phone on my computer. This never happened before.
You know what works for me is just that I mute it on the side, and then computer doesn't ring.
Yeah, I was muted. That's the weird thing.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm gonna go here. This is muted. Do not disturb is on.
That's good.
All right, we'll try again.
Evidently they want to go live with us.
Okay, we go live now.
Yeah, we are live. We have been live.
All right, so introduce me and we'll start.
All right. Well, we have a fantastic guest with us today. After some little bitty technical difficulties, fantastic Dr. John Gray. And a lot of us, you guys, listeners and viewers, you all know or have heard about the Dr. Gray, who actually wrote, that was in the 90s, that was the first book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. You know, if you think about it, that book encompasses everything, the entire, say, philosophy on relationships. Dr. Gray, that was a fantastic book that still is. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. And it's my pleasure to be with you. People always ask me, how can you talk for 40 years about the same subject? Well, I always learn more things. It seems that every generation has new challenges and new problems. And I just come from the a way of looking at solving problems with a deep understanding of how men and women are different, which is becoming more and more unknown today. You know, people are so confused about their gender, about what is masculinity, what is femininity. And without that clear understanding, we cannot work together as men and women to solve the misunderstandings that we have. It's very, very important. So I'm always challenged with the new problems, helping people solve them with new understanding.
Well, that's interesting because the question that I have, which is so pertinent, is that before we move into our fantastic topic to reveal the secrets on what men want, should be so simple, but yet it is pretty complicated for people, for women. Many don't know what men want, how to go around them, how to understand them, and how to deal with them. I wanted to ask you this question. Do you think that the book that you wrote, Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus, in the 90s, is a little bit old-fashioned, or do you think that those ideas still pertain to our society as of now?
Okay, it's a real simple answer. That book is so good. It's lasted. We still sell, maybe 300,000 copies every year, which is beyond bestseller.
Incredible.
But, it's all around the world. It's huge. It's got its own following, and it's the main people that relate to that book today are people that are married with children. If you're married, you're a couple, and the man makes more money than the woman, then almost always couples will relate to it. If you're single, you go, I don't relate to that at all. Now, I do have a book for singles, which is the dating book, which is good insight on how to date and fall in love and keep the love going. But once you get married and you have children, which puts a woman, she's more dependent on the man, and he's making more money than her, then the ideas of Men Are From Mars completely help those couples a lot. Okay, so it's relevant to them. Now, if you don't have children or you're not in a relationship and you read that book, you think, oh, this is just so sexist. This is like I'm supposed to walk on eggshells around my partner and whatever. Just like I have to treat them like a child. Some women will say, other women will say, well, I feel like if you're not in the situation I just said, where the man is making more money and the woman has children, that's more the traditional roles. When you're in a traditional type relationship or traditional roles, then you'll read that book and you go, oh my gosh, this is why it's not working. Oh my gosh, that's what she really needs. Oh, that's what she was saying, but now I understand it better. Anybody else not in that situation, particularly today, will think, oh, my husband, when a woman makes more money than a man or as much money as a man, or they don't have children, most women will say, I feel like my husband's from Venus. Women will say, I'm from Mars. If women read that book and they're single, they feel like, oh, I feel like I'm from Mars. Well, Mars means masculine. You know what helps a woman feel feminine? Is being with a man, okay? When you have a man and he's committed to you and you're committed to him, that's the thing called marriage, and you create a family. That's what makes women feel feminine. Without that, it's pretty tough to feel feminine in a world where you have to take care of yourself and nobody's taking care of you. And for a man, he will become not psychologically, but the word people throw around a lot today is narcissistic. He just thinks about himself. The thing that makes a man grow up and not think about himself. And it's important for men to think about themselves. You've got to be successful if you want to have a family. You got to think, how do I make more money? What do I have to do? What goals do I have to achieve? You have to think about yourself in order to give something to somebody. But that's called growing up. I have to say for myself, when I had a child, that's when I really grew up. Then suddenly you go, oh, I'm responsible for that little person over there. Now, my wife, she was already financially self-sufficient, so I didn't have that immediate feeling of she depends on me. But I remember when we had a baby, she said, John, I depend on you. Kind of like that moment, I grew up. That's what makes a man grow up. Otherwise, he's like a child, and he will be like Venus when people read the book. He'll have more moods. He won't be as selfless. He'll have less motivation. He doesn't offer his help. So many qualities of masculinity women will judge. It's only because they're not with a woman who needs his help. And women will be on their masculine side because they don't have a man that they can depend upon or trust. It's called the battle of the sexes. It's if she doesn't do her side, if a woman is unhappy, it brings out the worst in a man. If a man is not selfless, caring, understanding, respectful of his wife, it will bring out the worst in her. So we have the potential to bring out the best in our partners, but ultimately we have to first know how to be our best self. So, this is one of my themes, which is, as a man, I already learned how to be happy. I'm a happy guy. I'm successful. I can do that myself. I feel good about myself. I work. I feel great. But making love to my wife makes me feel even better. Being a great father makes me feel even better. It gives me a higher sense of mission and purpose other than money. Money's important without a doubt. Without money, I can't do any of that stuff. So I have to be able to have money, make money. And that's, for a man, a big part of his self-esteem. I first have to feel good about myself before I can then become so generous and giving in a relationship. Now, a lot of men, they don't have self-esteem and they're very generous. And then they get very upset when they don't get anything back. They become very demanding. They become moody. They become pouty. They start to complain. They feel resentful. Men only feel resentful when they're giving from a place of, I need your approval, as opposed to, I already approve of myself and your love makes me feel even better. So that's a different way of looking at relationship. I do think it's a transaction in terms of both people have to be giving and receiving. But the bottom line is my partner can't be perfect all the time. And if I'm so dependent on her always loving me and appreciating me and thinking I'm wonderful and being in a good mood, then I'm sabotaging my partner. And she's expecting me to be always charming and nice and supportive and interested in what she has to say. She's going to be disappointed, because there's times when we have to self-medicate, so to speak. We have to take care of ourselves. And that's a theme that's universal today, whether you're a modern relationship or not, it's men need their cave time. Okay. And so what I do now is I dissect the differences between men and women into biology. And the biology is such that men need to make 10 times more testosterone than average woman without depending on a woman. I need to be able to do that from my work, from my lifestyle, for my attitudes, my behaviors, my motivations, my mindset. All those different ways are things that affect my biology, and they will raise my testosterone. If my testosterone is not 10 times higher than a woman, she cannot be attracted to me, and I will not stay in love with her. Men
Well,
have
you
a
mentioned,
biological requirement before their heart can open.
oh, that's absolutely.
This is why men will become most romantic when a woman seems to want to have sex with him. Okay, the ultimate message of success for the primitive part of a man's brain is a woman undressing in front of him. Okay, this is like, I go back to the Galapagos Islands when you see these historic animals, these birds are flying up there, and all the males are down there showing how powerful they are. Look how powerful I am, and so the women, they'll pick the males who are most powerful, the best ones they can get. And that makes them feel so powerful. Is that
Well,
the
John,
woman
what happens?
him?
What happens in our society when we intentionally emasculate the male kind, not the man
Oh, we're
kind, but the
doing it
male
today all
kind?
over the place.
But
And we're
exactly, we do that.
defeminizing women. We've been defeminizing the whole feminist movement. While there are good elements of it, don't get me wrong, I think freedom and independence is very important for women. But women, in order to get respect, women deserve respect for being feminine as well. But women were not getting respect. What happened after World War II is so many men did not come home, right? And this is in Russia, this is in Europe, this is in America. And in America, what you got was the war machine. The war machine came in. Women were all working in the factories. The government says, hey, we can get 2 taxpayers now. And once you got women in the workplace, second thing is you had a lot of hot fathers who didn't come home. Well, when a father doesn't come home and you're a little girl, you're going to become masculine. You don't have a picture of how you can depend on a man. So this was a huge thing of happened in Russia as well, which is so many single mothers raising children, those girls growing up without looking at, look how great a man can be, how wonderful, what great potential you can have if you have a man in your life. What they did is they became like their mothers, which is, I can't depend on a man. I have to do it myself. So what happens when you have to do it yourself as a female, you don't know what it is to be feminine. You don't know what your power is. The power of love is so amazing. When you love a man and ask for help, you can get anything from him. I was fortunate to be married to my wife, Bonnie, for 34 years. She brought out the best of me because she was so loving. And she also was very clear about setting boundaries. Like if I got angry, she would just say, I'm not talking to you, and walk in the other room. 10 minutes later, she'd come back smiling. She would not tolerate any disrespect. She had self-esteem, but she also had love. She realized, oh, my husband's angry. Don't put it on me, and walked out of the room. She didn't argue with me, fight with me, but she would just basically set a clear boundary and not punish me for it. That was so clear. And I also learned if I was getting angry to immediately go, okay, I'll think about it. We'll talk later. These are like basic skills that couples need to have. Instead, what women do today, when a man's angry, they ask him questions. That's the worst thing you can do. They interact with him. If he's angry, walk out of the room. Don't even be in his space when a man's angry. How dare you get angry with me? Walk out. And don't
I
talk.
learned that exactly. That is the best strategy.
Yeah, you just
And
don't tolerate, but you don't withhold your love. You just stop the situation. And why do you not engage them? And see, if women don't understand how men are different, okay, biological difference, men only become angry when their testosterone is low. That's their male hormone. And their feminine hormone is high. That makes him emotional. So that means his estrogen levels are going up, his testosterone is going down. This is a biological reality. Men get angry when they're feminized, okay? This is why we have so many angry men in the world today, is that angry with their wives, angry with women and so forth, pouting, getting mad, being irritable, having big arguments and fights. Why? Because they're too feminized. Their estrogen levels are too high. And how do women contribute to that? They ask you, what are you feeling? The last thing you need a man who's angry to talk about his feelings. And she thinks, oh, I'll be a good listener. Or he'll say, what are you feeling? Well, I'm feeling annoyed by you. And she's, well, why would you be annoyed by me? And then you have a big argument. He'll say, because you didn't do this. Well, you expect me to do that? I do this for you. And this just craziness, because people talking when a man is upset is the worst thing. Talking for a woman about her feelings, her thoughts is fantastic if he can listen without becoming angry. That's because men get all angry. They get argumentative. What men have to learn is if a woman's upset, stop talking. Don't talk. Ask questions. Get her to talk. If a woman can talk, then her estrogen levels will go high as long as he's not interrupting, as long as he's not getting mad at her, as long as he's not getting irritated with her. When her estrogen levels rise, then whatever's bothering her is no longer bothering her. We make up all of our problems today. We make everything worse than it is with our emotions going off track. We have to recognize, and women, thank goodness we have women in the world, because they can have the feeling of love. They can have the joy, the happiness. It's like, the old saying, is a house unless there's a woman, then it becomes a home. A family is only a family with a woman around. It takes a woman to make a child. This is life. We've lost that. Women have become more masculine. And when they do interact with a man, are we still recording?
Yes, we are. I am still here, but my camera is not on.
Okay. All right. So the camera's not on. So I just wondered, who am I talking to?
It's me.
Let's say this is what happens in relationships is, who am I talking to? As soon as somebody stops listening, then who am I talking to? Then you just become annoyed or irritated. Your feelings get a little crazy. And so if a man is starting to become angry or annoyed, women, stop talking. Don't talk more. Just say, all right, let's think about this and talk later, and take an exit. This whole emphasis, our whole society is, oh, we have to talk. Then we end up arguing and fighting. We have to remember what love is. Love is understanding, it's empathy and gentleness and kindness and support. So where Mars Venus comes into play, whether as I say, the ideas of men are from Mars, if many people won't relate to them, because women don't relate to being feminine. They don't know what it means to be feminine. Men don't know what it means to be masculine. I was talking to somebody and they're saying, oh, he got all masculine and started dominating. No, masculinity is not dominating. Masculinity is cool, calm, and collected. It's not angry.
Well, this is why we started calling that to continue the process of emasculation. We created the phenomena of toxic masculinity.
Yeah, it's a stupid thing. There's toxic femininity as well. It's like there's toxic people. Masculinity is the most beautiful thing there is, and femininity is the most beautiful thing there is. And then there's toxic women and there's toxic men. Let's not throw in masculinity.
That we need to understand.
Masculinity. You can't just suddenly say, oh, there's good masculinity, bad masculinity. No, it's masculinity is this good thing. There's people who are bad and do bad things and whatever, and we hope that we can help them find the goodness inside of them. But men become toxic when their female hormones are higher than their male hormones. Women become toxic when their male hormones are higher than their female hormones. This is just biology, and you prove it by the hormone, the stress hormone. Stress hormone means, okay, when you're in a stress hormone, you're in fight or flight. You're not in connection. When you're in your stress hormones, you're in fake or you're fold. You give in to abuse, you give up, fake or fold, or you pretend everything's fine. All I see is like counseling a woman today. She's been faking for 30 years in a relationship. Finally, she gets angry and she wants to leave the man. Well, it's her fault too. She should have been asking for help. She should have been taking care of her own needs. She shouldn't have been just sacrificing everything for him, but she didn't have the communication skills. I'm not judging her, blaming her, just helping her understand she has a role in this, just like every man has a role in this. Is we're not educated how to treat each other as men and women. I just saw this whole thing in Congress saying that gender differences don't exist. It's of your choice. This is nonsense. This is insanity. This is crazy. They've got males competing with females. Every women is now losing their titles. They can't compete with elite women. With elite men cannot compete, period. And then these women will say, oh, but some women are stronger than men. Yeah, some women are. But when you're talking about elite, where you're talking about competition, you've got men are always going to win. They win all of them. They've got all the records. This is insanity. I'm just a little having fun with it because I was just listening to Congress interacting with this stupid people, mindless, that you can choose whether you're a man or a woman. This is all craziness and insanity. I've been dealing with it for 40 years, but now it's just off the board, nuts. But see, people aren't taught. They don't understand. What you've got is a bunch of dysfunctional people who were raised by single parents who didn't learn how to relate with the opposite sex. They have no picture of this. They don't know it within themselves. They're wounded. They're broken. These are all broken people. And if you look at when you come to America and you look at the gender, kids who want to change their gender, okay, this is mental illness. It was always known as mental illness, and you can't change it by giving them hormones. What you do is you help them stimulate the right hormones for them. I mean, think about a boy. A boy, when he goes through puberty, his testosterone goes up 10 times. They want to give him puberty blockers because he feels like a little girl. Well, why does he feel like a little girl? Because he has no testosterone. Why does he have no testosterone? Because he's got a single mother who's in the testosterone world and not in the female world, and he doesn't have a father. And 80% of them as well, they're all autistic. Autistic children believe what you tell them. They have no ability to connect with what they know to be true within themselves. They're disconnected. And so whatever you tell them, pretty much with all kids, whatever you tell them, they'll believe. And there's this whole agenda in California. The school can keep it secret from the parents that they're changing your child into a boy or a girl who's not a boy or a girl. We're living in a crazy world.
It infuriates me, and that my 16-year-old at school, in fact, I was so surprised because there is a brainwashing essentially going on at the public schools, especially here in California, as if we live on some sort of a different planet. And she dared to state the fact that, listen, guys, our identities are not set up until much later. We cannot and should not be changing our gender up until then. She was nearly devoured for that. And
it's horrible. I get to teach at Stanford University and Harvard University these ideas of men are from Mars, and I was kicked out because it's considered sexist to say that men and women are different. and nobody who reads my books would think I'm a sexist who actually enjoys my books.
They actually kicked you out?
Yes, I'm not allowed to go on those universities. And they part of it as well is they have to hire guards to protect me. That's the rationale. Same thing in the prisons. I was teaching in the prisons. That's my emotional intelligence. And they kicked me out there because they basically said the prisoners were having a good time. There's so much dysfunction in the world. People make money off of keeping people in a bad place. Same thing with health. They make money making us sick, not teaching us how to be healthy. I'm just so excited in America. There might be a change here when we get John F. Kennedy's nephew, who's all about the environment, all about health and healing, who understands that the National Institute of Health in America is totally corrupt. They're paid by the pharmaceutical industries who make money off your sickness. So a little fun there. Yeah, Dr. Yana, we've given lots of talks together, but your big question today, you got to keep me on track here, which is,
well, the thing is, John,
what do men want? And
yes, well, that's actually, we think that we're getting off the subject, but in fact that we're not. Our society in this postmodernistic world has been so split, and with all these ideas of toxic masculinity, emasculation, it's difficult to even ask the question what men want, because we'll be immediately banished over this topic. What do you consider a man? Well, guess what? Nowadays, there's a difficulty even defining a man because of the masculinity and femininity questions, right? We're not supposed to. There should be like the partition between the genders should be completely eradicated. But the reason why I asked you that question, whether that book, Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, pertain to our modern world, in my understanding, it is timeless. It is timeless regardless how the times are.
That book particularly focuses on how men and women make common mistakes in their relationships. And to the extent that someone is more traditional, where a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and their life supports the hormones of femininity in women, the hormones of masculine men, then there'll be behaviors that women just don't understand. Like men, when they're in touch with their masculine energy, they'll connect with a woman. That means their estrogen levels are going up and they'll feel more love. Men awaken to love through women, through caring for, respecting, and supporting women. As little boys, we feel loved by our mothers taking care of us. But as soon as puberty hits, testosterone goes up 10 times. At that point, it's about learning to be masculine and having people appreciate us for what we do and appreciating ourselves. Then as we mature more, then we can become more feminine, but without it overwhelming the masculinity inside of us. And that's the place of relationship. Where a man falls in love with a woman, he becomes different. He wants to give to her. His happiness is depending on being successful and making her happy. Like I'm depending on my survival to make money. I have to depend on myself to make money. To get a woman's love, I have to depend on myself to get that love by doing things for her that fulfill her needs. Now, what are her needs? This is the confusing thing. As soon as women are independent financially, they don't need men for money anymore the way they used to. So let's say my wife makes as much money as me. So why she appreciate me so much? But if she doesn't make money, then she feels like, oh, I really need his help to have money. Then she'll appreciate me more. And today, even if women don't make money, they marry a wealthy man, they're going to divorce and get money from him. She's set for life. Okay. So why should I appreciate it? You take it for granted. But
Well,
what
speaking of,
happens is when a woman does have financial security, it will no longer make her happy. What makes her happy is emotional support. So women need a new kind of emotional support. And this is all women in every situation today, because the world has changed where women can be more independent and they can be less dependent on men. So now what are you dependent on men for? Because you do need men. And that's just the thing. And what do men want, by the way? A woman who depends on him. It's real simple. All a man wants in a relationship is a woman who appreciates what he can provide. Now, when I say depend, that's be confusing. You need to depend on him for what he can provide, and what he can provide needs to be something that makes you happier than you can be alone.
yeah, because I already anticipated lots of rocks being thrown at us, being dependent, me being dependent. Oh, yes, we are interdependent in relationship.
Everybody
That
is.
is
I'm
for
dependent
sure.
on you to do this interview. I'm dependent on food to breathe. I'm dependent on air to breathe. I'm dependent on making love with my wife, which I do quite regularly at 75 years old, or actually not, already advancing myself.
Yeah, why?
At 73 years old, people are surprised. I have so much love in my life. My grandchildren as well bring love into my wife, but my wife brings so much love. And what women don't understand, what do men want? We want love, but the way we feel love is primarily through sex. That's the difference. Women need love and then they want sex, generally speaking. Women with low self-esteem will go around wanting sex, and then they feel love because they can get a man's attention. But no, a healthy woman with self-esteem, she will feel, I need intimacy first. I need to feel respected. I need to feel partnership. I need to feel cared for. I need to feel priority. I need to be in a monogamous relationship. I'm number one. And that will raise my estrogen to higher levels. And when estrogen goes to higher levels, then luteinizing hormone gets produced in her brain. That then raises her testosterone. And then she feels desire to be penetrated. She feels desire for sex. And it's one of the most fulfilling things in her life to be able to have that. That's for women who have it will say that. Women who don't think, oh, well, I don't need that. Okay, that's where you are in your life. But when you have such high estrogen levels where you feel safe, where you feel adored, when you feel loved, when you feel cared for, when you feel priority, you're special, then what happens is sex becomes fantastic for a woman. Without that, it's just like, why would I care about sex? Women need intimacy and love, then they want sex. Men are just the opposite. We want sex. But through sex, as we mature, we realize that sex opens our heart to love. And a lot of men don't know what they want. You know, we say a theme is, what do men want? As a funny joke here, I remember reading one of these women's magazines. I used to write for women's magazines, all of them. But there was this one, 36 bachelors, ask 36 bachelors what they want in a relationship. That's
They
the
don't know
last
what they
person
want.
They don't know what they want. They're bachelors. They're 35 to 45 years old. And they're not even married. They don't know what they want. So
So
men
how
don't
are we
men
supposed
don't
to
know what they
know,
want.
John?
Men don't know what they want. I'm telling you what men want. How can I tell you? I can tell you what women want because I've studied women for 40 years. I know how to help men give women what they want and save marriages. I can tell you what men want. But see, what you want is often the wrong thing. So you ask me, what do men want? Men just want to get laid. Okay, you could say that. But that's
Oh,
not.
that's it. We have arrived to the answer.
Well, there is a real powerful thing, which is sex is what opens a man's heart. What we're really needing and wanting that we don't know what we want is love. Men want to feel appreciated. They want to be heroes. They want to be trusted. They want to be accepted just the way they are. Now, how can I say that? Well, first of all, how I learned that is look at the complaints men have. What men's complaints are, my wife's always trying to improve me. She suggested you should do this. Why don't you do that? Why did you do this? How are you going too fast? You should know. Okay. All of these things is she is not trusting him. She is wanting to change him. And she basically will say, I give and give, I get nothing back. Women always feel like, oh, I'm the big giver. He doesn't give to me. And what he's feeling in that situation is, I don't feel appreciated. Because if you were appreciating me, you wouldn't be thinking, I give more than you. You'd be thinking, wow, you give so much to me. I love you. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy with you. Without you, I would never be this happy. That's what a woman needs to feel. And that's what a man really wants, whether he knows it or not. He just can feel his emotions changing. He doesn't feel the passion. He doesn't feel the drive because he's not getting the fuel. He doesn't know what the fuel are to articulate it. A lot of men, they've been completely misled thinking that, oh, I want to talk about my feelings. Again, this is like insanity. Never in the history have men talked about their feelings to a woman. If you're upset about something, you solve the problem. And if you can't solve the problem, you forget it. You disconnect from your feelings. Well, does that mean won't have feelings? No, you have positive feelings. It's a simple thing. You do something nice for people and you feel good. When you feel bad, you suck it up. Literally sucking it up is contracting your muscles, which makes testosterone. You do something that produces testosterone. When you produce something, when you make testosterone, I mean, what is the salvation that people talk about today? We've done all this research showing that meditation lowers your stress. Do you think people are emoting emotion during meditation? No, they're forgetting their problems. The whole point that the Buddha taught, that people taught meditation is, forget your negativity, forget your problems. And men are good at that. Men can be taught to do that. That's what meditation was, is teaching men to forget it. Don't make a big deal out of it. Everything's perfect. Everything's fine. No problem. What can you do about it? If you can't do anything about it, then forget it. This is pure masculinity. This means you're in a good mood all the time, but you don't have a lot of feeling. That's by connecting with a woman and serving her, because when you take care of a woman or someone in need or a child, then what you connect with is your female side. You connect with the nurturing part of you. So this is how we're all designed to be. Men are not supposed to be whining and crying and complaining. They all say, "Oh, all these poor men, they didn't get to cry as children, and that's why they're in jail. That's why they're dysfunctional." No, I taught in the jails. Yeah, they didn't get to cry, but that's not the reason they're in jail. They're in jail because their mother wasn't happy, their father was an asshole. This is what happens when all these criminals, they grew up in broken families, parents who hated each other, couldn't love each other, couldn't get along. That's what upsets children, not that they couldn't cry. We have these stupid ideas in psychology that everything is just about crying and feeling whatever. We have to understand things as well. And the big thing in relationships is we just don't understand men and women. We do the wrong things. We're feminizing men. Then we're calling men toxic. Feminizing men makes them toxic. That's what, if you look at toxicity is fight or flight, fake or fold. You can't have intimacy when you're faking or you're folding. You can't have intimacy when you're fighting and when you're fight or flight, when you're running away all the time. So what is the solution here? Well, we know there's a hormone that's being produced when you have any of those toxic behaviors. And those toxic behaviors, fold is fake, is also passive aggression, being virtuous. So many women I see, what they'll do is, oh, I'm so living. I gave and I gave and I gave. I didn't ask for anything and he gave me nothing. I say, yeah, the whole time you were faking. Truth is, you were angry the whole time. You should have felt your anger and done something about it, which is stop overgiving. It's the big thing for women is to learn, don't overgive men. If you're overgiving a man, then all you're going to do is resent him. Do men want resentment? No. What we want is a woman who accepts us just the way we are. Don't try to change me. Accept. Pick out the guy you want. Don't go pick out the guy you're going to change. This is your neurosis. Love, and also learning what love is. Love is being present in the moment, being happy with what you got, or disappointed with what you got. And then your goal there is to change your expectations. See, disappointment, of course, we all feel disappointment. Every day there's some disappointment. Right now, our culture is such a disappointment. So we just change our expectations. We work with what we've got, and we learn to be loving about that. And the way you love a man, since we're talking about what men want, is what men need. Healthy desire is getting what you need. Just wanting sex is what he's wanting. An immature man wants sex. A mature man wants sex, but because I'm mature enough to know why I want sex, is because it feels good, and also it allows me to love my partner more. This is when a man feels loved, his heart opens when he's getting so much love. Think about it. When a woman wants to have sex with a man, what is she feeling? If she's authentic to herself, she's feeling appreciation for him. She accepts him into her body. She's trusting him to open herself and be naked with him. It's trusting, accepting, and appreciating a man. Boom, his testosterone goes up and he gets an erection and he wants to make love with you. But that erection is just a symbol of he comes alive. He gets turned on. His spark comes out. See, this is making a man alive. Women just suppress men without knowing it, just as men suppress women without knowing it.
Yes. And not only that, it makes him want to do things for that woman.
Yes, he has motivation. Men all lose motivation, and women lose happiness. They lose their love. They think they're loving. When I say that, oh, I'm so loving, I give and give and give. And I go, yeah, but underneath that, you're angry with him. You resent him. You feel like you're sorry for yourself. How can a man feel any love from you if you're angry with him, or you're feeling sorry for yourself? Oh, poor me. I don't get what I need. Men wants to feel I give you what you need. So how do you do it? Well, what's the solution? Understand what men need, understand what women need, and women start learning, asking for what you want in small increments, letting him know this is what would work for me, and explain to him why that would work for you. And the only way you can give a logical explanation is to explain that you're from Venus. You're different. I have a different set of hormones.
And not to be afraid to ask, not to be afraid to state your needs. That is an important thing.
Yes.
And women are afraid.
Do it in a way that's not so blaming. One way, for example, is, what was it just today? My wife said to me, she says, John, if you want to talk to me, this is how you could talk to me in a better way. I listened, and now I know. It was a simple thing. Same thing. Ask for what you want. And so I remember I would leave the,
didn't it make you feel a little bit resentful? Because, do you think that I don't know how to talk to you? Or not?
Well, it didn't for me, because I understand. I want to know what makes things better. Men don't have a picture that we don't know. It's a certain humility that we don't know. When somebody points out men are this way, we don't understand women. Women are this way, you don't understand men. We're so arrogant. Women think they understand men, and then they come back and complain something's wrong with him when he's just doing what's normal, natural. An example, men go to their cave. When you're a testosterone man, and that's the difference between men and women biologically, is for me to have an open heart, my testosterone has to be higher than 10 times more than hers. Okay, has to go up in her presence. If when she sees me and she's happy to see me, what message do I get? Oh, I'm a successful husband. I'm making my wife happy. So my testosterone surges, and that brings out the best in me. I come home and she says, you forgot to call me, or why are you so late? Or why didn't you do this? My testosterone goes down, and then he loses motivation. We are affected by each other. Women motivate men. Women resent that. They think, oh, well, he was motivated in the beginning. That's because you're on a drug trip in the beginning. You were different in the beginning. You didn't complain. He had no history of your complaints. He had no history of your criticisms. You had no history to be resentful of him. So naturally, he felt loved. And when a man feels loved, he's motivated. And now women go, well, what about me? I gave and gave and gave. You gave because you weren't feeling loved. When you give you are giving to get love. When you give to get love, what are you saying? I'm not being loved. Men need to feel they're successful in providing love for you. And you can do this without criticizing him. You do it by asking for more in small increments and focusing on feeling and expressing feelings of gratitude, happiness, do things that make you happy. And when he's ignoring you, oh, am I being abused? He's ignoring me. No, you can't have to be the center of attention all the time. You're Cinderella. You have to be like this little princess all the time. No, you have romantic activities for that. You have to have a life. You're a grown up. And so, women get caught up in getting needy for more than a man can give. And then if they don't have a picture of what a man can give, then they feel like I just don't need a man at all. You don't need a man's affection showering you all the time. What you need is a man who's there for you when you need him. And how much of the time do you need him? Not all the time.
Those are golden words.
Tell me about that.
The words of gold. You just shared the words made of gold, because this is what exactly is happening. My daughter, she's 21 and she's in college. And I've been hearing all these stories, how all those college, her classmates and roommates, how they're all dating. And she's like, Mom, I cannot understand. This is crazy how they don't understand what men want. And I'm like, at 21, you already know what men want. Oh, okay. Her philosophy is also evidently she's been overhearing me for so long, to allow to be loved, to allow to be done things for you. That's
okay, so
how
what you're
men
getting at,
want
which
to
is
pursue.
modern women today, not allowing men to do things for them. This is the foundation of romance. Is a man opens the car door for you on a special occasion. This is a special occasion. So just to get a meaning behind it, men just have this explained, and the women have to have it explained. I remember Bonnie, the first time I opened the car door for her, she said to me, Bonnie, my wife of 34 years, I say that because she's passed on and I'm remarried. But in that situation, she says, oh, I can do it myself. Of course you can do it yourself, but you do so much for me and you do so much for everybody else. Let me do this for you tonight. Let me take care of you tonight. It's like, yes, so tonight you get to be the center of attention, not all the time. And a woman doesn't want it all the time. But what happens if she's not getting it occasionally, then her mind goes into a bias towards negativity. That's what the stress hormone does. Remember, when a woman's hormones, more masculine hormones than female hormones, the balance is off, her brain will go into a stress response. A stress response in the prefrontal cortex causes a bias at looking at what's wrong and looking at what's not enough. That's what women do. They go into not enough affection, not enough time, not enough support, not enough money, not enough happiness, not enough love, not enough intimacy. It's just this pervading thing, which a woman can most women can immediately relate to not enough time. Because they go, yeah, it's true. There really is always enough time. You can't really say there's not enough time. But when you say, oh, I have to do all these things, then there's not enough time to get everything done that I'm choosing to do. Now, the problem is women get to a place where they choose to do more, and then they go, I can't do more. And then they can feel sorry for themselves and not realize that, wait a second, I set my life up this way. You make the bed, you have to sleep in it. The good news is redemption is always possible, meaning you can gradually come back to being feminine. It is possible, but hard to do without guidance. You need guidance, and that's what Beyond Mars and Venus does. That's the book. It's called Beyond Mars and Venus. And in that book, I explain the hormones. Men and women's hormones are different. And when a woman is single, or when a woman is married and she feels she's not getting what she needs, she has to learn, I'm not getting enough, then I'm not making enough estrogen. And I have to learn the behaviors, the activities, the interactions in order to raise my estrogen. Now, it's not just men that do it. Singing, dancing, doing things you enjoy, learning things. Anytime you're dependent on others to help yourself, to be helped, to be supported, that's estrogen producing. That's just going to bring it up to about 10 times higher than a man's. Romance doubles it. And then suddenly you get the benefit of sex drive. There's so many women lose their sex drive. They just don't have the hormones to make the sex drive happen. And that's because they don't have a man in their lives doing the things that would help raise her estrogen higher, which is called romance. And my books are filled with all of these, I call them biohacks now, how a man can biohack her. The theme of today, we did a whole talk on that one, but the theme of today is, what are the biohacks for a man? And ironically, they're almost the same things, but in reverse. What a woman can do is say to her husband, honey, I get so stressed out at my work, and it's not your problem at all, but something that could help me a lot is if I put up my hands every day, I want to try this. I read it in a book and I think it would help me. And I put up my hands. It says, I'm going to ask you to do something that will take 5 minutes of your time. And what would make me a surge of estrogen that would lower my stress is for you to enthusiastically, like on our first date, to enthusiastically for 5 minutes, do whatever I ask you to do. And that might be give me a foot massage. That might be make me a cup of tea. That might be clean the kitchen sink. That might be change some light bulbs. But whatever I ask for in that 5 minutes, for 5 minutes, I'm just asking to give me 100% response as if I'm the most important person in the world and you're going to do it right away. That's what I need. And if he understands men and women are different, then he'll realize, wow, if that makes her happy, that's what I really want. Every man really wants a woman to be happy as a result of him being in her life. So that's the underlying thing. That's why when I say men want sex, is because sex is a symbol that she's happy with you, because generally women don't want to have sex with you unless they're happy with you, at least healthy women. So now you've got this man, what he wants is to be able to make a woman happy. Now, why can I say that? Because almost every man who wants a divorce from his wife will say the same thing. No matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. Now, some women do say my husband's depressed and he's not happy, and so I got to end this relationship. That's a small percent, but even then they're saying the same thing as other women. Because he's not happy, I don't get what I need. That's always the reason women leave. I'm not getting what I need. I want affection. I want positivity. I want commitment. I want love. I want romance. I want kindness. I want generosity. I want a man who doesn't get angry with me. She's got a long list of the things that she wants and needs, and rightly so, because it's not that hard once you learn. It's little things that make the big difference. That's a basic classic Men Are From Mars idea that's still true. It's just people don't know what's true today. They're so lost in their confusion of thinking men and women are the same. And more importantly, men going to their female side and thinking that's who they are. It's a part of who a man is, but it's not who he is. Identity is masculine if you're a man and feminine if you're a woman. And I can have all kinds of female qualities. See, they can feel, well, a woman, I heard it today, this stupid woman talking to Congress, just idiotic as far as I'm concerned. She's saying, well, I wear pants. That doesn't mean I can't, something about I'm a woman and I can be a man, I can wear pants. No, you can be a woman and you can wear pants. You can have masculine qualities for sure, without a doubt. This is liberation. It's freedom. You can be who you want to be, but you can't change your identity. I can't change the size of my nose. It's just what it is. There's certain realities.
And even if we do change the size of our nose, even if we do have the gender transition, change our gender, we do still remain who we are, who we were biologically,
yes,
originally.
There's an actual biology of masculinity and our role in life. If you look at it from a spiritual point of view, my soul, I'm very spiritual, 50 years meditator, all that stuff. My soul is both masculine and feminine. Okay, this is my eternal soul. We all have an eternal soul where it's unique about human beings. And that eternal soul chooses to manifest as a man or a woman. And my lessons in life is developing my soul journey is to master my masculinity, because I was given this body. I wasn't here to master being a woman. I'm here to be a master being a man, which means I can be masculine and have feminine qualities at the same time. And that's what I have. I'm doing my job. I'm serving my purpose. At the same time, I'm having the most fun time, and I love it. When you have both discipline and direction and goal orientation and a sense of mission and purpose, along with loving it and being happy and being fulfilled, that's masculine and feminine energy together. But my role as a man is to be masculine and then let my feminine join that together. For a woman, her purpose in life is to be happy. It's to be loving. It's not to make a lot of money. You're lost if you're here to make a lot of money.
I love it. I love it. My purpose is to be happy.
Be happy and to be loving and to be joyful. This is like the purpose of life, is to be happy. That's your female side. And while you're happy, make a difference in the world. Raise a family. Make the world a better
Absolutely.
place. Do your masculine thing, but from a place of femininity, which is with love, with happiness, with a sense of trust. That's a big quality of femininity, is to trust, to not be demanding. I want more now. I want more now. I must have more to be happy, as opposed to I'm happy with what I have and I want more. That's just the balance. I wrote a whole book on that, which is the secret of
That
success.
is to be learned, by the way, because we can be talking a lot about it, and people can be listening to a lot of podcasts and to those who've written lots of books and did scientific studies on that, but at the same time, not take actions. I wanted to thank you for being so accessible to us mortals, for
Moral.
talking. Yeah, mortals, because that, well, I'm not really putting myself down. It's a joke, but joke has a lot of weight in it. Seriously, thank you for making yourself accessible and bringing all that wisdom to people. Because the more people know about it, and I know more people are listening to that more and more, and I hear a lot of feedback from men and women understanding that being demanding, being naggy all the time is not
Yeah.
going to bring you anything in life.
It doesn't bring you anything. And at the same time, understand that what's behind the nagging and the complaining, what's behind is I need help. Ask for help. Be direct. Would you help me with this? Would you try this? And be patient. This demanding side. Well, I asked you to move your socks. Okay, I moved my socks. Then he forgets his socks on the floor again. I told you before. Why haven't you done that? Instead of just going, he forgot. And there's so many answers to these things. Women always say, how come he doesn't remember this, this, this? Actually, look at a man's brain. The hippocampus, the memory part of the brain, is half the size of a woman's. And then, because men will complain, why does she remember everything? Because her hippocampus is twice as big as a man's. Under moderate stress, there's 8 times more blood flow that goes to her emotional memory. And that would be natural if you're feeling more vulnerable, which women are more vulnerable than men. We have a set of muscle mass that protects us more. Women have more vulnerability and they run out of energy if they don't feel safe. When men don't feel safe, they have more energy. See, we are so opposites without this knowledge, and there's so much. That's why there's 20 books behind me, all on this subject. There's so much for us to learn. And why is there so much? Because the world has changed. It used to be that women were pretty much on Venus and men were on Mars, and we would connect a bit here. Men have their roles, women have their roles. I'm all for the new world where women can be more independent, they can be more free, they be educated, all of that. Just don't give up being a woman. And men can be heartfelt, spend more time with your children, with your family, have more romance in your life, experience lasting love. This is something men can have, but don't give up your masculinity by whining and complaining and focusing on sharing your feelings rather than doing what you think is the right thing to do. And if you're upset, suck it up. Don't talk about it. These are important things. Men just aren't taught this today. If you get angry, you're supposed to talk. And if you get angry, women ask you questions and provoke you into more conversation. Like, why would you say that? And if you love me, what? This is such
Oh, yeah.
nonsense. People just don't know
Belligerence.
what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that belligerence can kill a lot of things. Well, I know, John, that you have to get into your next meeting. Speaking about being accessible, of course, so many people want a piece of you. So I wanted to mention again that incredible book that you wrote, Men and Mars and Venus on a Date.
Oh,
That
yes.
is a fantastic book because it is also a timeless book. It pertains to every century that ever was, is, and will be. And I would like to talk about it because the younger society, the younger generation, can benefit much more from these books than probably ever before. And I
Well,
see that already.
I'm all for people reading that book, but I think the foundation for them to look at all ages is Beyond Mars and Venus, because in Beyond Mars and Venus, I give you the biological reality. And without that understanding of how we're so biologically motivated by different things, react differently to different things, need different things in order to experience well-being, that's not covered in any of my other books as much as in Beyond Mars and Venus. And it relates to everybody. And that this is why we see why there's so much more turmoil in the homes, why people aren't getting married, why people can't stay in love. It's all about the hormones. And, people are trying to solve this problem by taking hormones. I'm not 100% against taking hormones,
Mhm.
but I'm pro producing them. Use your relationships to make the hormones. And never has a book been written to talk about that because we didn't have the science behind it. I mean,
And that
all
is
these
the essence, how to understand each other and manipulate those hormones. Of
yeah,
course, not from a malevolent perspective, but how to manipulate them. by
Remember,
understanding each
manipulation has
other.
a bad tone to it, so it's biohacking.
Biohacking, exactly.
Couples will stop talking to each other, they get mad at each other, they go in their corners, right? So you know what you can do? You can just stop talking and sit next to each other and hold hands. It will change everything. Your body loves each other when your mind doesn't. What a biohack is that? It's not manipulation. It's learning how to support healthy, healthy love. It's just, I watched, what is it? Uh, online, I heard some experts saying, when you're mad at your partner, just sit quietly and look into each other's eyes. It's the worst thing you can do is look into somebody's eyes when you're angry with them. Don't look into each other's eyes, but hold hands and sit and just or put your arm around him or have her lean into him when she feels like it. Just soften. Just have the awareness. Talking is not the right thing to do when we're upset with each other. What we need to do is stop talking and feel our connection, and the
To
hormones
put our
automatically change.
egos down.
Yeah, and that will
That's
bring our
right.
ego down. The
Because
defensiveness, the protectiveness. We're safe. We're sitting next to each other. The body will come back into balance. The body knows you love your partner. Your brain has been conditioned to get defensive and do all the wrong things. So just bypass that. Again, a simple biohack. There's so many biohacks. 4 hugs a day. Every day, give my wife 4 hugs a day. Another biohack. Never talk if I'm angry. This is what men have to know. Women, if you're angry, tell somebody, but don't tell your husband. Don't dump your negativity on them, but talk to somebody or write a letter to God. Tell God what you're feeling. There's so many different processes that you can do where you don't just throw your negativity on your partner. Oh, they should know. Yeah, you can process your negativity. Then you come from a place of, hey, honey, by the way, I notice sometimes you're forgetting to do this. Would you try to remember to do that? I just want to remind you, it feels so good. It's not a big deal. Everything should come back to not a big deal. When you ask for more from a man, it's not a big deal. If it's a big deal, you're making him wrong. So but saying you feel things are a big deal until you're able to talk about them. Women need to talk, process their feelings, then nothing is a big deal. And it's not a big deal. There could be some things that are a big deal. Then you can't talk to your partner either, like affairs, or lying and deception. Then you go to a therapist. You can't talk to each other about that. The only reason people lie to each other is they don't have good communication skills. So many people say, well, I couldn't tell you because you just get upset. Well, you have to learn how to communicate in a way that your partner doesn't get upset. And the person who gets upset has to learn how to not get upset when your partner tells you the truth. These are like life lessons. But how can you learn them if you don't have a direction of understanding men and women have different ways of reacting to things? And that's what I'm teaching. It's not being taught anywhere else. And we have the biology now to support this nonsense, which is being taught in the universities, that we're not that different, insignificant differences. No, they're huge.
This is not essentially not a rocket science to understand each other, but just a willingness together, willingness to understand each other, because we are together for a reason, right? So we do love each other, and screaming and yelling and constantly nagging. To me, I would rather pick up those socks that have been there for hundreds times, thrown on the floor, than to be angry with him and for him to be resentful with me. I couldn't care less about it. There are things that are more important.
So many things that are more important. We make that wrong thing. The whole world we're making everything more important than it is. People live, all the emergencies that are going on, the drama that's going on. It's all just a reflection of the drama that we have inside of ourselves. We need to cool it. We need to, one of the very popular books back in the 90s was, I can't remember it. What was it? It's not a big deal. Oh, don't sweat the small stuff. And then in parentheses, and it's all small stuff. There are big deals, but the big deal is the result of sweating the small stuff. It escalates. This is the problem in relationships, as we escalate. Now, of course, we can keep going on forever, but I have to.
We need to stop sweating. That's what it is.
Okay,
well,
right.
Thank you so much, John, for being with us today. We've been live on Be Honest with Dr. Yana. Stay tuned for more interesting conversations. Thank you, John, and big hug to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.